Hello and welcome to my third tutorial video for the game Automation Empire. You've been playing the game for a while now and you've unlocked combiners and now the remote connectors, but you want to know how best to use them. My name is HiveTyrant424 and I beat a planet in only 11 game years with the 45,000 kg medallion, so if you want to know how I did it, stick around and let me show you. I'd like to begin by saying I unlocked the combiners, but I only used them long enough to give my productivity a boost to get those remote connectors unlocked. I hate using combiners without those remote connectors. And I'll be honest, I haven't found a very efficient way to do it yet. Now, game-changing technology like the remote connector usually requires the demolition of most, if not all, of my systems. I have to rebuild my refineries in far more efficient ways because they're just horrible at the start. And in some cases, I can triple my output on the same floor space. This time, though, I'm just going to demolish all the buildings and start over, except for my mining operations. I'll leave those alone for the time being, but those are going to change because I'll be refining on site soon enough. Now, how remote connectors work is actually pretty simple. You place a container, large or small, in your factory, and you can put it anywhere you want, and then you highlight the container. At the bottom of that container's window, you'll now see three color choices: orange, blue, and green. You select one of those colors, and that color will appear as a band around the container. And now you can only have one container per color in each factory, but I'll show you how to get around that in another video. Any of the remote connectors that you place inside that factory will collect, store, and transfer resources from that container as if the container were attached. So I think of them like buried pipelines, but they only work in the building where you place them. You can't place them outside, and they won't cross from one building to the next. They obey whatever rules are applied by whatever you connect them to. So as you can see, I'm showing you my old refining system first, and to demonstrate how the remote connectors work in a simple way. And the orange connectors on the top there are going to feed coal ore through the transfer tubes into the crate makers, which goes directly into the refiners. When the refined coal comes out the front of these refiners, it's going to land on one of these right turn conveyor belts, the step conveyors. Over top of the step conveyors, I'm going to put the intake transfer tubes, which will suck the coal out of the box. As you see, I've placed it there. Then the empty container will shuffle off to the side there onto that unload station, which will then make it disappear because they destroy empty crates. The green connectors at the very end will take the coal from the transfer tubes and stick it into the big green container that I set aside for it. Then it's a simple matter of using an output transfer tube with another green connector on it to get the materials loaded onto a train car to move out of here. Now that is my old system. It's not very efficient because one crate maker per refiner is a lot of power being used. The crate maker can make crates every 3 seconds, but the refiner, it takes 9 seconds to refine the coal. So in actuality, I'm spending all that power on a crate maker just for a 9-second crate maker, which is terrible. So what I've done is I've developed this, which is actually 2 crate makers, which set up crates onto a step conveyor that you see there. And every 3 seconds, each one of those crate makers will spit out an empty crate. The transfer clause will make sure that there's no gaps other than the gaps that have to be there. It's a simple rule. I mean, for the step conveyors, there's got to be one empty space for a crate to move into if that belt were to move forward. So there's always going to be one space gap between the crates. But when you've only got one crate maker on those step conveyors, you end up having 3 spaces in between each crate, because it takes 3 seconds for the crate maker to make another crate and put it out on the belt. And in that 3 seconds, because the step conveyors make 1 step per second, so it's moved 3 steps forward, and then the crate maker puts the next crate on. So by having 2 crate makers on the same belt, you eliminate that third space. You set it back to having 1 space in between each crate, which is the best you can do on the step conveyors. So again, I'm putting my clean out option here at the other end of the refiners because I haven't found a better way so far to collect the refined ore. I haven't found anything more efficient. Now, somewhere in this system, it's actually going to end up being between the crate makers and the refiners. There's a 2 space gap there in between on the step conveyor at the top there. I will end up putting an output transfer tube with an orange connector. As you can see, they're stuck, they're hidden in there, and they're really tight. But that's the beauty of the remote connectors, is you can fit them into much tighter spaces than you can a container. So I'm going to set up my iron refinery, same setup as the coal, except I'm not putting quite as many refiners in this one. I think the coal one has 20. This one I'm only putting 16. If I need to, as you can see, I have space at the bottom. I could probably put another row of refiners. Might have to wiggle around with the configuration a bit to get it to fit, but worst case scenario, I can just put my less efficient system in there, because those only take up 11 by 3 squares. So, but I've got the refineries out of the way. Let's get down to the really fun part. That's the combiner factory. As you can see, on the left side of the combiner factory, I'm going to have coal coming in, refined coal, and on the right, I'm going to have the refined iron. I always use orange for my first ingredient, blue for my second, green for the output. So the finished product is always green. The green is almost always what's going to be leaving the building. I do that so that it's easier for me to spot problems. If the system jams up, I can see if I put the wrong connector or the wrong tube someplace. It's easier to find if I use the same colors. So I'm just going to use a little train, not a long one, just a little train system to move the steel plates, which is what I'm going to make in this combiner factory. They're heavy and they're valuable. And by the way, they go really fast through the research facilities. So when I need some research points, I'm already making a fast turnaround product. So just a little track here. Transfer the steel plates to I use a crating factory. I don't box it up and ship it from the same building that I manufacture it in. And I do that on purpose because when I've got surplus materials, like surplus of from another combiner factory, I can ship all that to my crating factory and have it crated up without having to rebuild the whole facility. So let's look at our combiners. I love these. These are so much fun. I like setting them in rows like this because they look better. I know I could get more combiners into this factory if I kind of squished them together a bit more. I know there's a lot of space, but believe me when I tell you that I'm setting up, I think it's 17 or 18 combiners in this factory, and that's more than enough. I don't have to use more than that in order to get a massive amount of productivity. So I'm attaching the transfer tubes. You have to feed the left side and the right side of the combiner, one material on one side, another material on the other. And you can find the recipes in the upper right hand corner. You see all these icons. The one that says kg looks like a big weight. Well, the one beside that looks like a notebook. That's actually your recipe book. If you click on that, it'll open a little window that will show you how to make all of the different materials. The kg button, if you click on that, will actually tell you how much each of the different things that you can make, or each of the different resources, how much they weigh per crate. So you want to always aim for the heaviest thing that you can. It may not necessarily be the most valuable, but the goal of this game isn't to make the most money. The goal of this game is to offload as much weight as you can in the 3-month period. So you want to go with heavy materials. Steel plates are heavy. Now, as you notice, I didn't leave enough room around these combiners to put any containers, but that's because the remote connectors do that job for me. I don't have to have containers. And I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube about the automation empire, and I've never seen people build combiner factories using connectors. They've always got containers on them, and I don't understand why. Each one of these remote connectors is, in effect, the large container that it's color coded to. So all of those blue remote connectors are in effect a 120 crate large container, because all of the material that's in the blue container will go through those connectors, those remote connectors, through the transfer tubes into the combiners. So why would you use containers when you can use those little remote connectors? It's so much more efficient. There's my whole system. As you see, my coal refinery is working hard. I don't think I can import enough coal to actually start stockpiling coal ore there. Now my combiner factory is not working. Oh, that's because I don't have any iron coming in. Uh-oh. Iron refinery's not... Oh, because I forgot to make the train that's actually going to bring the ore into the refinery. Good job. Well done, Hive. All right. So we'll get some iron in here. Now watch how fast this works. I love this. There's no delay. From the time the iron comes in, you won't even see it going into the large container. It'll go directly into the transfer, or into the remote connectors. Oh, of course you had to make a liar out of me. But watch this. The crates pass underneath those transfer tubes, and they're immediately filled with ore on their way to the refinery. It is so cool. The transfer claws grab them. Look at that. Into the refinery they go. And as soon as they come out the other end, all you'll see coming out the other end is empty crates. You'll only ever see empty crates to the left of the transfer tubes, because the coal or the iron gets pulled directly out of the crate as soon as it comes out of the refinery. It is so cool. And here the system is working well. As you can see, that large container for the coal ore, there's barely any in it. But I've got a full 16 car minecart train running coal into that refinery. So you go through it a lot. You go through it fast. Now, one thing that experience has taught me is that one line of trains is never enough to feed a crating factory the way I've got this one set up. So I've got 2 of them. I know I'll need them. I figure I may as well do it right off the bat. I'm not sure why my crating factory isn't crating any steel plates. Ah, yeah, because I forgot to put the storage container. Okay, now it's working properly. I really appreciate you watching this video. If you found it helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button down below. And if you want to be notified when I upload my next tutorial, go ahead and hit the subscribe as well. Click that notification bell, and I really appreciate your support. I'll see you all in the next video, where we're going to talk about trains. That's going to be a lot of fun. I love trains. I'll see you all there.